Hi, I'm Dr. Lindsay Coble.
Dr. Noelle Crosby, and we're the Sound Sisters, and this is the Hearing Diaries. Today we have audiologist Dr. Melanie Hecker on. She is a practicing audiologist, private practice owner, and founder and CEO of BLUEMOTH Hearing. She also owns Northwest Hearing Tinnitus, where her work with patients has helped shape how she thinks about access, care, and innovation in hearing healthcare. Today, we are talking about her journey into audiology, private practice ownership, and how those experiences led her to the creation of BLUEMOTH. I want to know where that name came from, too. BLUEMOTH Hearing. Melanie, welcome to the Sound Sisters.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Okay. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your origin story. How did you get into audiology and what keeps you in it?
Yeah. So I actually got in by total accident.
So
I,
pretty typical, right?
yeah. So I actually started, I wanted to be a nurse midwife. That's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to help people. And in my freshman year at the University of Florida, I actually lost a family member, as she was giving birth. And it never crossed my mind, like, because you're thinking like
That could
babies,
happen,
happy
right?
babies. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like that I don't want to do this. Like, so then I just did like a crazy pivot to political science. And during that time, I took an elective in linguistics.
Mm,
I loved linguistics and I wanted to help people. So
mhm.
I said, okay, what can I do in linguistics that helps people? And they're like, you should be a speech language pathologist. And I think there's a lot of audiologists that were
Oh,
told, you should be a
yeah.
speech language pathologist. And literally, not even one semester in, I knew I'm going to go for my AUD.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so it literally was that one random elective in
Oh, that's so
linguistics
funny.
that even I didn't even know what an audiologist was.
Yeah.
I never even heard of it, but I loved how black and white the science of it
Mhm.
was, and I loved the fact that you were, working with relatively healthy people. No one was going to be urgently passing, and
Yeah.
it's the beauty of the communication and bringing people back together. That was what really excited me about audiology, but it was
Yeah.
totally a stumbling by
Yeah.
accident.
I love
I
that.
feel like
And
most of
it's
us stumble
funny
somehow. Most of us
when you
stumble into
said,
it somehow.
yeah, and when you said like you like the black and white, I think that's what
Mhm.
I decided. I thought like I was all speech pathology at the time in schools, most of it when I was going to
Yeah.
school. And I'm like, I don't want to be that creative every day.
Mhm.
So I was like, I like the more objective type of thing. And then once I got into audiology and became an audiologist, I realized it's really not all objective. But
No,
Some
no,
creativity. Uh-huh.
and that's the thing that you learn like as you're going through, because I loved the science part of it,
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
but it's really quite an art as
Yeah.
well. And so the
Yes.
blending of those two things really became exciting for me. And how do you hold that creativity with integrity at the same
Mhm.
time and
Love that.
marry them? I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
that's something that we're constantly doing as
Mhm.
professionals. So
Mhm.
that's pretty exciting.
I
That's a
love
good
that.
way of explaining
Tell
it.
us
Yeah.
about your like early career moves and how you got into private practice, Northwest Hearing and Tinnitus. How did that all come
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, so I got my doctorate in Towson, which is in Maryland in Baltimore. And I did my fourth year clinical residency at a private practice. And
Mhm.
I knew early days I wanted to do private practice. It just excited me. I had had a multitude of different, I was at the Johns Hopkins CI clinic
Mhm.
and I had done cleft palate teams at hospitals
Mhm.
and I'd done a whole bunch of different things, but I knew private practice excited me. I've always kind of had that business mindset. I love a challenge.
Mhm.
I love to see things grow. I like to be, what did they say? Like the owner of my own destiny and
Yeah.
futures. That was exciting to me. So I did a private practice halfway between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. And as I was telling Noelle, I worked there for 3 years before Widex poached me. So
Mhm.
I worked for
Yeah.
Widex for years. And really what did it was my partner at the time, my son's father, my ex-husband, he really wanted to move to Seattle. And they had
Okay.
an opportunity in the Northwest. And so we moved out here. I worked for Widex. I was an educational trainer for years. Then I was a sales rep.
Mhm.
And that really led to a lot of getting to see thousands and thousands of
Mhm.
clinics
Yeah.
and seeing really phenomenal audiologists, seeing really phenomenal dispensers, seeing all kinds of different ways that clinics can run
Mhm.
for better and for worse. And
Yeah.
so
Yep.
um, there was a period when I finally got to, let's see, 2018, where I was going through separation and divorce, and I had a young son, and traveling from Alaska to California was no longer interesting. Um, and I was like, you know what? This is scary, but it excites me, the possibility. And two of my girlfriends who owned a clinic together
Mhm.
in Seattle actually reached out to me and said, "Have you ever thought about owning? We want to sell." And it was just
Mhm.
one of those
Oh, I
moments.
think I know who you're talking about.
So, Ashley Alesi and Amy Wolf are
Yeah,
still very great friends of mine. And actually, interestingly, Ashley has gotten back into audiology. So she
I
left for a
saw
few years.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just was one of those moments where just like the stars aligned. And I'm like,
Mhm.
you know what? This is a perfect opportunity. And I was definitely scared, but I did it anyways.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's how I got my first clinic, was really the two of them reaching out and just going forward from there.
Going for it,
Getting you be
going for it.
ready.
And I feel like
Yeah.
that's such a story that we've heard too, Noelle, from a lot of
Right.
practice
Oh,
owners.
and we even kind of
They,
experienced it
yeah,
too.
they worked clinically, then they worked for a manufacturer. Both Noelle
Yeah.
and I had kind of that same trajectory, and then they got brave and opened their own clinic. And it's
Yep.
Yeah.
usually
Or
some like
bought a clinic or
life
yeah.
change that causes them to get into private practice because they feel like I've learned a lot to do it on my own. So yeah,
Yeah.
neat that you had that same story. I did not know that
Yeah,
part about
I
you.
know. And I loved how you said, like, that's what I thought. I went to so many clinics and I saw, and so
Yeah.
that prepared me so much for what I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do. And
Hmm.
it
Yes.
really, I feel like it was such a great experience to be able to go in and see all the different places.
And to see
But
the
once you
business
did
side,
that,
to see the
yes,
business
and
side
do
of how
the,
a
yes,
manufacturer
Yes.
runs too.
yes,
Yep.
for both things.
Hmm.
But like once you did become an owner, what surprised you most about the role of, owner and clinician, et cetera?
It's funny that it didn't strike me before becoming an owner, but it really struck me when I became an owner, was how inefficient most private practices are. And there's all different kinds of ways of running a business, and there's no right or wrong way. It's the way that works for you as the owner.
Hmm.
But I knew I did not want to be an owner operator. And I didn't want, like a lifestyle or a hobby business. Like I knew I wanted to be out of the clinical seat as quickly as possible so I could grow and build. And, I've been able to do that. We now have 5 locations. I'm very proud of Northwest Hearing
Hmm.
and Tinnitus. I love being an employer and being able to create these opportunities for my staff and give them great benefits. But day one, what it really was, oh my gosh, we've got these doctors on staff and they are doing tube changes and cleaning
Right.
hearing aids and second half of deliveries. And
Yeah.
it just struck me. I went
Show
back to
them
my
how to put it
child.
in and take it out.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I went back to my childhood. My mom was a dental hygienist,
Hmm.
and then we would go, sit at that little, I told you I grew up in a really podunk farm town.
Yeah, she grew up in
Looking,
So did
Florida,
I.
in a little town in
Oh,
Florida.
I grew up
yeah,
in a
like
podunk farm town
Yeah.
too, so I get it.
yes. And so often my older brother and I would get, carted to the dentist office and just go sit there while my mom was working.
Mhm.
But I thought very quickly, oh my gosh, we need assistants. And so audiology assistants were really early transitions and optimizing the schedule to really elevate the profession of an audiologist and like the quality of time that you're actually getting to spend with the doctor. Like,
Mhm.
is this actually something that a doctor should be doing? Is this what we went to
Yeah, I
school
love
for?
that.
Is
Mhm.
this the level of respect and care? And it was interesting because that was in real opposition at that time because the providers are like, well, this is my patient. I
Yeah.
want to do
This
everything
is
with
my turf and my
Yeah.
patient, right?
yeah, and I really had to say, like, but you have such skill, and like, what's your highest good? And
Mhm.
also, how do we make sure that when the patient's with you, they're optimizing your time and respecting your degree? And
Mhm.
so there was quite a bit of resistance, but I had a very clear vision, and over time, that has become really successful. And we have complete programs in our clinics where our patient care coordinators can become trained to become audiology
I love that.
assistants, and then our
Mhm.
Oh, I
audiology
love that
assistants can
too.
become dispensers.
Mhm.
And so it's just really cool to have that vertical pathway because
Mhm.
in private practices, that's one of the challenges we often run up against is like, well, how do I grow and evolve? And
Mhm.
we're at a place now that we can create those opportunities for employment, which is
I
exciting.
love that.
I love that. Have
And I
you
bet,
found, oh, go ahead, Noel.
I was just going to say, I bet the audiologists, once they realized the direction that you want to take, they probably even like that better, that they don't have to do those other things.
Yep. Yeah,
Hmm.
totally. Yeah. Well, it's like now you have the time to be able to do the real ear and the quality of what you're trying to
Hmm.
accomplish. And then the audiology assistant, just like you were saying, Noel, how do I put it in? How do I take it out? How do I pair it to Bluetooth? Like, all of
Hmm.
these things that the doctor doesn't need to be doing, they're using that time that they have for the highest level of audiological care.
Hmm. I love that. Have you found a sweet spot of like two doctors to one assistant, or is it
I
one to
like that
one
too.
ratio, or what have you
It's
found
so
works?
funny because for most of our offices, we only have one provider, one PCC, one AA.
Yeah. Okay.
However, in our Seattle location, we have four doctors, two PCCs, and one AA. One
Hmm.
AA is not enough. So I would say
Okay.
Okay.
at least
Like a two to
one
one.
audiology assistant for two.
Two.
Mm-hmm. Neat.
Um,
Okay.
I think
I like that.
anything beyond that, the quality of care just gets stretched and it's not.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe I'm sure there's someone out there that's optimizing better than I am, but it's also there's got to be a place where it's like it makes sense and everyone's comfortable and they're not
Hmm.
just feeling like they're a cog in a machine too. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Sure.
You got to
Uh-huh.
have that fine balance.
Yeah. Neat. That's neat.
Yep.
When you were as a practice owner in the in-person clinic, what were the most common frustrations or barriers of patients that you see in your clinics?
So it's unique. So this did not lead to Blue Moth.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, the clinics that we had were we were in very affluent areas.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the time when I first had them, they were self-pay. There were not a whole lot of challenges.
Mm-hmm.
As we've grown and scaled, that we're starting to be in areas where the remote access is becoming more challenging. For
Mm-hmm.
example, Olympia, the nation's capital here in Washington, there's a lot of small areas where you're having people drive 2 to 3 hours
Mm-hmm.
just for
Wow.
care. And then one of the big things is we rebranded in 2021 to Northwest Hearing and Tinnitus. That was not the name when I bought it. And that also opened up the amount of people that were traveling large distances to get
Mm-hmm.
tinnitus care, because there
Oh,
were
yeah.
not tinnitus
And it's
experts
specialized. Mm-hmm.
in this state really, except Eastern Washington or Portland. I'm really proud to say that a lot of people have elevated their skills in Washington, and there are a lot of great options for
Mm-hmm.
tinnitus care. There's really
Right.
phenomenal doctors all throughout Washington now who are really upping their game. But at the
Mm-hmm.
time, there weren't. And so
Mm-hmm.
people were traveling all over for tinnitus care.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
I think is a need in every state.
yeah.
And I think, like you
And
said, I think people are starting to up their game and focus on that
yeah,
for
I could see
continuing
that.
education and
Yeah.
trainings.
It's
I think
awesome
as
to see.
audiologists, we didn't know like what do we do with them, even though this is part of our, but I think during COVID, like I feel like that's when things made a big switch where maybe we all had more time to focus on it. And then I think with the changing landscape of with hearing aids, OTCs, like
Mhm.
what should we be doing? What
Almost like it made us
other
come to
things?
life. Almost made
Yes.
like it
What
made us
other
come to
things can
life
we
of like,
do
look outside.
Well,
Yeah.
and I
to
think we
help
need a
people?
reminder too, like, and you see this a lot, like there's so many really cool areas that we can, specialize as
Yeah.
audiologists, whether it's
Right.
tinnitus, APD, vestibular, and in
Yeah.
the private practice, particularly realm, it was hearing test and hearing aids. And
Yeah.
so to
Yeah.
be able to differentiate yourself and
Mm-hmm.
to become more niche, I think it really said, okay, well, what do you want to become an expert in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I like that. Okay, so let's kind of switch to what was it that happened or what was your reasoning behind Blue Moth? And then just explain a little bit about what Blue Moth hearing is as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, so really the impetus of Blue Moth originated in 2017. There was a really core moment. So legislation was passing through Washington State for OTC. And at the time, I was the president of the Washington State Academy of Audiology. And so, I was very much a part of all of this. And I was really kind of surprised and disheartened at how many providers were against it. And I know it's a very polarizing topic. But as a care first provider, one of the first things that I always think about is access. Like, how can we get more people in treatment? And, unfortunately, I think one of the things that we see a lot in audiology, and this might be true in other professions as well, I do think that there's a lot of fear, and I do think that there's a lot of scarcity around
Yeah.
competition. And in my mind, the competition has never been the audiologist or the dispenser down the street. And I don't say that in an arrogant way. I don't think I'm any better than anybody else. But I've always felt that my biggest competition and our biggest competition is the incredibly low market penetration rate. There are so many people out there that have hearing loss that are not moving forward for XYZ reason. And yet we're saying, but it's easier to point my finger at Lindsay and say, she's my competition. Lindsay's not my competition. She's just out there trying to help people too.
Do the same thing. Yeah.
There's so many more people that need help. And so, to be honest, it kind of infuriated me to see that they were really trying to squash the ability to get it. Now, do I think OTC is better than prescription? No. Do I think that self-guided is better than real ear and audiological care? No. But I also believe that the best hearing aid is one that someone is wearing, right?
Yeah.
Well, not the best. The best is obviously real ear gold standard prescription. But if we can get more technology in more people's ears and getting people to open their eyes to the fact that they need and want care, that starts them on the process to getting to the best and optimal care. And I think you've probably seen that. I mean, we've had plenty of people who went to Costco, for example, because they wanted something cheaper and inexpensive, or started with OTC and then end up at our door at Northwest Hearing and Tinnitus. You know what I mean? But that's what got them started. And I think about it a lot like, am I going to stop working out because I'm not a bodybuilder? Am I going to stop eating healthy most days because I don't have the perfect nutrition? No, it is a step in the right direction. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I think about it.
So explain to us, or people who don't know BLUEMOTH, what is the experience box? What is the process to BLUEMOTH? If I were to get online, what is my process?
Yeah. So, and this kind of actually, forgive me, but goes back to the last question a little bit too. So I am also a consumer, right? I'm an audiologist, but I'm a consumer. I'm not a consumer of hearing healthcare, but I am a consumer of vision care. So my whole life, I've had a vision impairment. I've had glasses since I was a little girl, super cute, four-eyed, contacts, etc. And just like I was inspired by dentistry with my first practice, I was inspired by, optometry and ophthalmology when I was thinking about BLUEMOTH. So Warby Parker was a huge inspiration for me. And I was thinking, how do I, as the most geriatric millennial or the youngest Xer, I'm on the cusp, how do I consume healthcare? And how do I see a void in the audiological space for accessing care? And so really I was inspired by companies like that, Smile Direct Club, all of these different really novel innovations in healthcare, bringing access remotely to home. So BLUEMOTH is a 100% teleaudiology. We get asked all the time, what's your address? Wherever you are. So we're 100% teleaudiology. And there's a few different ways that you can engage. We do at-home hearing tests utilizing the shoebox system. So we actually do speech and noise testing. We do bone conduction. We do otoscopy. So a lot of things that people think about, well, how do you do this? How do you do X? They actually are capable through remote care nowadays. And I mean, so many clinics don't even do speech and noise, and we're doing that. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of misconceptions that when people really ask questions, they're surprised that we're doing. But we do everything from testing to treatment to follow-up care, all remotely from home. And the experience box is really an experience. And what prompted this was there was one day I was taking my son out for frozen yogurt, and this dude could not figure it out. He was sampling. And I'm like, you're going to be so full. I can't order now. I just wanted to give them money and say sorry. So I was like, here's this at the time, very young kid getting to try frozen yogurt before committing. And yet we're asking patients on the first day of meeting us to trust me as your doctor to give me X thousands of dollars because I know what's best for you. And we may, and we do believe it in our hearts, and we have the skills to fine tune everything. But I'm like, why are we not letting people test drive these in their real world before making that commitment?
Hmm.
And the other aspect of it, which I was suspicious of, and I've actually found to be true, is I was curious how much subjective opinion really came
Well,
into
yeah,
it.
I
You know what
believe
I
that.
mean?
Hmm.
And I think most of us as audiologists, I actually posted about this on LinkedIn the other day. It's like, which manufacturer do you choose for different patient
Yeah.
personas? And we all kind of say like, oh, if they're a musician, I choose X, or if they do this, I choose Y. But is that actually what the patient would have chosen for themselves?
Hmm. Hmm.
And we've all fit a certain technology where someone almost had like a visceral reaction to it, positive or negative. And so what we do is we put three different premium, all we do is premium prescription, three different technologies. So let's just say we put Oticon, Widex, and Phonak, right? Like those are the three in the box. We work with five different manufacturers, but we send three to them. Now it is a basic first fit, so we do share like this is going to give you an overall assessment, and then from there we're going to fine tune and tailor it.
Hmm.
But use it in your real life. Pair it to your phone. Live your life, the areas that matter to you. Because often patients will say, well, if only my wife spoke like you do. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Oh,
loud
yes.
and articulate. Like,
And you're
but
in a tiny
that's
room.
but
Yeah.
that's exactly the point. Even those that do demos in office, often the partner is not with them. So it's like, go
Hmm.
home, go to your work, go to your church, go to your groups, speak to your partner, and see which one like the best. And
Hmm.
almost always, it's like this Goldilocks moment. It's not like oh, well, can I have more time with XYZ? That's a very rare exception. Almost
Hmm.
Oh, I love
always,
that.
there is this is just right. This is
Oh.
the
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm. And it's not often what I would have chosen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
Hmm.
so we've actually been talking with UW, the University of Washington, and I would love to have one of their students start compiling some data and doing
That would
some
be cool.
questionnaires
Hmm.
to see if there's a way as clinicians out in the field, we can ask maybe some pointed questions that we wouldn't have thought of that would help us get to that better outcome and because I mean, our return for credit rates are incredibly low, but I
Hmm.
think it's also because they're such a part of the process.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah, I love
Which I
that.
feel like clinically in my own head, like you said, musicians, we go X, whatever we go
Yeah.
Y. I think mild first time users, I go X, experienced
Mhm.
users like more power, I go Y. And it's
Yeah.
like, I'm just making, and I tell people, I'm like, this is what I think is best. Everyone's perception to sound is different. So come back. If you don't like it, we'll try something else. You get a trial. And in clinic, that is such a time,
Yep.
it
Yes.
takes a lot of time when
Yeah.
you just put them in a box and try them
Yeah.
all at
Yeah.
once. Kind of
Yep.
I like that,
cool.
And
trying them all at once.
Yeah.
yeah, and it is a little overwhelming. And so they do have an unboxing. Like we make the whole thing like really fun. So they actually meet with one of our audiology assistants. They do an unboxing, especially if they've never worn technology before, because think about how intimidating that
Oh,
can
yeah.
be.
Hmm.
So they
Yeah.
meet with them, they show them all of the things, how to put them in, out, how to charge, etc. Pair with their phones, and then they kind of walk them through what they should be testing. And then there's little games that they have every single day, like, okay, here's a challenge: take your partner on a date, or take yourself on
Oh,
a date to a
cool.
noisy
Yeah.
restaurant. You
Oh,
know what
I
I mean? Like
love
little
that.
challenges, so that way they're not just sitting at home, but they're
Yeah.
actually putting the tech to the test.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, before they make that selection.
Do you
Melanie, I
find,
love that.
do you find that the average age for Blue Moth is lower, younger than your clinic?
Yes. So, well, what's interesting is we're finding, we've been live to market now almost 3 years, which is kind of crazy. But what the original aspiration was Gen Xers, right? Like
Hmm.
I envisioned like this is my first hearing tech was through Blue Moth.
Hmm.
And we are finding that that is true. And you see it in our marketing, our imagery, it's
Hmm.
definitely skewed younger.
Hmm.
So a lot of first time users come our way. However, we do have a lot of people who they're like, I've always worn, let's just say Phonak.
Hmm.
I know I want Phonak. I don't need all of the hand holding, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
just want to be able to get it. I mean, I'm just going to call it for less in an easier way. And
Hmm.
so that is what we're also seeing because, like, well, I
Interesting.
don't want to have to pay a premium. I'm not going to be using them. I never go see them, but the one time a year for my update.
Uh-huh.
And so I think as business owners and private practitioners, we should also potentially think about what do we do for those long-standing loyalist patients of ours so we don't lose them?
Lose them like
That's
that.
the kind of program that they're potentially interested in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, will they actually
Yeah.
utilize if you're bundled, which we are
Yep.
at
Yeah, which
West?
I'd
Mhm.
stop
Will
that
they
because
actually
of exactly because of those reasons.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's important to think about that as well. But
Or to
oh,
offer an unbunbleded option. I mean,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
well,
I
to
have a
yeah.
bundled
proactively
or
offer that.
unbundled. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's also been interesting, Lindsay, is, and this was not anticipated. So most skew younger.
Okay.
However, we also get a lot of requests for quite a bit older.
Mm-hmm.
We do not recommend the experience box typically for that
Mm-hmm.
genre.
Right.
But it's people who are in nursing homes or assisted facilities. They're immobile. It is very difficult for them to get in and out of their home into a
Yeah.
clinic. And often their children
Yeah. I
are
could see
the
Yeah.
that.
Gen Xers or the young baby boomers who are still working. And it's stressful to be a caregiver,
Mm-hmm.
to your older parent.
And take them
And
out, all the effort to get them in the,
yeah,
get them in the
exactly.
car, take them out. Like
It's a
sometimes that.
lot.
And so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times what we're finding is we have quite a bit of organic growth in that realm.
Mm-hmm.
However, we make it very clear, like you have to be with your parent there, or there has to be like an associate nurse or something because everything is telehealth. They don't have smartphones for the most part. Zoom what? What do you want me to
Yeah.
zoom on? It's like,
Yeah.
and so there are certain things logistically where we need to have the tech support, but as
Uh-huh.
long as we have that, oh my gosh, the happiness that this brings these people because
Oh
on the
man.
weekends or the evenings, they're not having to take off time from work to take their parent into a clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's an interesting little caveat.
Yeah,
I
that
could see
is.
that. Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of requests and we're getting, we're getting reached out to by some of these facilities that say, would you be willing to set up a day where you could see all of our patients? You could send us a testing kit and we'll have a nurse here to assist.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are things that we're always kind of contemplating as well, but that was not the initial business model, but there's a huge need there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you
I
said,
want to
being
say
open to
something
new
about,
things too, the
yeah,
directions you did not think it would take. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, like in my office, I am a demo office. So I would do a lot of demos and I would do where, oh, you try this and then you try this.
Mm-hmm.
But like what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking when you were saying that is, oh yeah, but this week I went here and I did this, where the next week when I tried the other thing, I was in different environments or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I always thought it was very inefficient, and it would be something like, do I still really want to continue to do that? Where
Yeah.
some people just want you to tell them, what they want. But I
Mm-hmm.
always felt like I wanted a choice, so I wanted the patient to feel like you don't have to give me your money right now. They
Yes.
do pay for the demo experience, but
Mhm.
if you don't get anything, that's just all you pay. But I love
Which
the idea of actually having them try the different ones at the same time.
Yeah,
You know
which
what I mean? Like
kudos
that.
to you for charging
Yeah.
because I think so many
Yeah.
audiologists would not charge for that. And we do get asked that often because our experience box is 375
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, "Well, what is it?" And it's like, "Well, it's the experience of getting to try these three
And I love the name of
devices
it
in your
Yeah.
too.
real world." And we do apply it as a credit when they move.
Right.
When you
Yeah,
purchase.
that's what I would do too if they do move
Mhm.
move
Mm-hmm.
forward.
But your time
Yeah.
is valuable, and a lot of
Yeah.
people are doing it for free. And it's like it takes time, it takes resources.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the clinic, Melanie, do your audiologists offer a couple at a time, or do they do just
I
the
was going to say,
one
was it different? Yeah.
Yeah.
recommendation? Yeah. Just
So,
a
and
different
that's one of the things,
experience.
it's like at Northwest, it's so funny because, there's all kinds of sides of doing this. And we are, I mean, if you look at a gold standards, best practices, like as far as CEUs, certifications, all of that, Northwest Hearing and Tinnitus, and I say this with such confidence, is a pinnacle clinic, like
Mm-hmm.
pinnacle. However, do they do in-office demos? Rarely. Do
Mm-hmm.
they offer multiple and let you listen? No, because that doesn't fit that model.
That
But if you
model.
want gold
Interesting.
standard and if you
Yeah.
want real ear and if you want all of those things, Northwest is for you. So that's where
Different model. Yeah.
is there one model that is perfect? No, I do not believe
Right.
so. Like
Mm-hmm.
we
Yeah.
all have our strengths and sometimes you have to sacrifice something in order to get something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Nate,
I
I'm
would
with
have a
you.
hard time like distinguishing when somebody came in, oh, you'd be actually better off doing it this other way. So is that sometimes difficult to like make that switch? Like maybe that person really would be better off doing the experience box versus the
When that place,
one-on-one.
those people probably never come in.
Wait,
Experience
are you
box
talking about
people
for
probably never come
BLUEMOTH or
in.
for Northwest?
Yeah, like if somebody comes into Northwest, but you find that it's somebody that really you think would benefit having the experience of having more than one, would that ever
We
happen?
we don't even
No.
like it's not even a part of that process. And
Okay.
this
Mhm.
might seem weird, but as you get to know me more, I'm very good at like I always call myself a waffle. Like I have compartments. Like I'm
Oh,
not spaghetti, I am a
well,
waffle. Like
that's
compartment.
cool.
And
Yeah.
my two businesses are completely separate. They
Okay.
have very different core values. They have very different missions. They have
Hmm.
very different ways of doing business. And I make sure constantly when I switch from one business to the other, I'm thinking about the best and highest good of that clinic, its target demographic, and how we do business. So there's not bleed over,
Mm,
Right.
that's awesome.
And you don't
for
have to
better
tell
or
me
worse.
cost,
Yeah.
but is
Hmm.
there a big difference in what the patient pays one versus the other?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so for example, we're in an affluent area here in Washington, but our premium technology, you'll also learn them on Open Book. Our premium technology is 8,300. Okay. Whereas premium technology through BLUEMOTH, 5,500. Well, that's a
Hmm.
massive discount.
Hmm.
Right.
Now, depending on where you are in the US, 5,500 may be what some people are charging for premium, especially if they're unbundled. So it might not be competitive. But at this time, both
Yeah,
companies
that's a
are
big,
fully
yeah.
bundled.
Oh,
Hmm.
I love that. It's such a different way of looking at things.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
ask this one question about leadership because I think it's
Okay.
interesting and I view
Yeah.
you as such a leader in the industry. What has building
Hey.
Blue Moth taught you about leadership that you did not learn from private practice?
Yeah.
Hmm. Um, I think the biggest thing has been discernment.
Mm.
Mm.
Um, Starting a startup has been much more volatile and emotional. And so just realizing like, okay, and a lot of people are talking in your ears, you have different consultants. And so just having a very clear, like, I'm open to hearing and I want to hear, but having a really clear discernment of where we want to go
Hmm.
and listening to our target demographic and what they want and what they need. Um, I've said no more in the last year than I ever have in my whole life, which is
Hmm.
hard as a recovering, enabling people pleaser. Um, but I think it takes a really strong level of discernment. And every single time I say no to an opportunity or no to this person's idea or no to that shiny object, I'm saying more and more yes to the core purpose of why I created this. And so I think a really strong level of discernment, and that really requires a slowing down
Hmm.
in order to speed up.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that.
There's probably so much more we could talk about and ask you, but I think my head is spinning.
Noelle's got ideas.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
sorry, I
it.
told
That's
you I
good.
was chatty. I probably talked too much. I
No,
apologize.
no,
No,
I
so
love
good.
this conversation. It's great. But let's move to the rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to start,
Go
Lindsay?
ahead, Noelle. Yep.
I'm thinking of all the words. What's one word that describes you and why?
My family would say stubborn, but I would
Ooh,
say I would say curious.
that's good.
And I live a lot of my life with kind curiosity, just
Hmm.
really trying to understand the other person's perspective to create authentic win-wins, which is probably
Hmm.
my deepest core value. So curiosity for sure.
Okay, good. I
All
like
right.
that.
If you could master any skill overnight, what would it be?
Probably computer programming
Oh
because
God.
there's
Yeah.
so many things where I'm like, if only I knew how to do this.
I do it myself.
Yeah, my brain doesn't work that way, but I wish it did.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And where do you see hearing healthcare 10 years from now? I'm sure you have a different vision than a lot of people do based on
Hmm.
what you're doing now.
Yeah, I think in 10 years where I see audiology going is I think there's going to be a lot of there's going to be many more channels of getting into
Hmm.
audiology. But what I see that as a huge opportunity is I think many more people are going to get helped. And I think audiologists are really going to be able to harness their skills and create their expertise. So I think it's going to
Yeah.
become a lot more nuanced and a lot more niched than it is now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What is a coffee order that gets you through your day? Or
I'm
drink order?
I'm so boring. I just black.
Me too. When I drink coffee
Oh,
black.
I wish I
Black
could. I try,
coffee.
but
Bitter, bitter, bitter. I don't know. That's what does it. Just get in there. It's about
yeah.
efficiencies.
Straight to the veins. Keep me going.
And what's a sound that makes you happy?
Honestly, when the kids are not fighting and playing and they're all laughing about something silly, that's my favorite. When the three of them are just like jumping on the trampoline and giggling,
Oh,
that
that's
brings
so
me
fun.
joy. It
Yeah,
brings
that's
me
Yeah,
peace. Yeah.
hmm
yeah, I love that.
If money was not a concern, what would you be doing?
Honestly, still the same because I think that's one of the things people don't realize is BLUEMOTH has been fully self-funded. And I almost had a heart attack the other day because I saw over the last 5 years, I've put in $3.8 million of my own money into
Oh
this
my
company.
God.
And
Wow.
so this is me believing, this is
Yeah.
me truly believing, or I'm insane, believing that this needs to be here, that this is something in the world that people need and want. And I hear that all the time from the people that come to us, like, thank you for having this. And so I would be doing this
That is
because
amazing.
I'm not making money doing it.
Which,
Yeah.
you're going to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that you could be like well, one day we'll have the founder story,
Yeah. I
how
love
you
that.
created this and your perseverance and everything.
Thank you.
And what's one thing about that our profession could do better for patients or for each other?
Honestly, I just feel like I wish we were all nicer to each other.
Yeah.
And I really wish, like, honestly, if I could like wave a little Disney wand, I just wish that everyone could have a little bit more of an abundance mindset.
Mhm.
There's so much out there and there's so much opportunity and like just keeping our eye on the prize, which is our patients that we want to
Mhm.
help. Um, I think that's the biggest thing, but like be nice.
Mhm.
Like
Be
Yeah.
nice, yeah.
Be kind and
Be
supportive.
kind.
be
And it's so
nice.
interesting that pretty much everyone we've had on here
Yeah,
has said that same thing. So,
yeah.
yeah, we
And
all feel it.
I don't know if this is true in other professions, but like years ago, I literally left Facebook because
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
audiologists being really unkind to each other
Yeah.
online. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
what are we doing? Like we
Yeah.
are eating our own.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And so that's why I
crazy.
love what you're doing. I love it when people can say, like, hey, I may or may not agree with you, but I want to learn more about you. I
Yeah.
want to come from a place of kind curiosity and see
Yeah.
what's possible. And maybe having our minds opened a little bit
Yeah.
to, like, am I actually hurting myself by digging my heels in?
Yeah.
Right.
Most of
Yeah.
the time, probably.
Yeah.
Mhm. What B fits you best? Be kind, be brave, be
I know
curious,
that
be
you.
bold, or be happy.
Curious.
The kind
Yeah, be
curious. She was
curious.
going to combine two of them. Kind curious.
Yeah, be curious. I love
Oh,
it. I was saying
God.
determined too was another word I was thinking about.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, for you. But let's do our before we close, let's do our Be Curious segment. So the other day on Facebook, I saw that Lindsay was accepting an award from her high school. And tell me if I don't have all the details exactly right, for her participation in sports when she was there. She played soccer, basketball, and what was the other one?
Softball. Softball.
Softball. I did not have a clue. I did not know anything about that. And they were honoring her and putting a plaque on the wall. Is that what was
Mhm. You're
happening?
right. Plaque on the
Yeah,
wall
I was
in the
so
high school
excited.
hallway.
And your dad was your coach. I love
My
that
dad was
too.
my
Just
soccer
soccer or
coach.
for all of them?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 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 My whole
Yeah,
life, my dad was my soccer coach.
your soccer coach.
Yeah, we kind of
Okay.
joke, Noelle, like you don't know everything about somebody. You think you've known
No,
somebody for a long time and you don't know. So be curious
no.
about each
So
other.
be curious.
Love
Open
that.
your mind.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Melanie, thank you so much for this super thoughtful conversation. It stands out to us how deeply you work, both in private practice and through BLUEMOTH. We love that you listen to patients and respond with such intention. To our listeners, we hope this episode encourages you to stay curious, kind curious, in Melanie's words. Trust what you're noticing in your own work and remember that meaningful change often starts with one question. So thank you so much, Melanie, for joining us. Until next time, thank you so much for being part of our community. We will see you on the next episode of the Sound Sisters, the Hearing Diaries.
Thanks.
Thank you,
See y'all
Melanie.
next time. Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you.